you like that piece of music? It's good, right?
Who is it?
Oh, it's just a little lo-fi chill hop. It's a group out of actually Algeria. Yeah, pretty cool. Jackson Foltyn at the Jackson Cobra Lounge. Yeah, we're gonna do a little Yakk here. We're gonna talk about other things, amongst other things. Maybe a little bit of music, maybe a little bit of bourbon. Who knows? Jazz, and more jazz. We might find some nuggets along the way. Leo Holmes, special guest star. Actually, he does a lot of electronica music, amongst other things. Called Good. Always been real good. I'm going to share a little sip and dip into some stuff. Join us for the next few. What's going on, my buddy? How you feeling?
Good to see you, Jack.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to be back in Jackson's.
It is Jackson's. It's been a minute.
Not that long. It's been like 2 days ago. We're here all the time.
What are we drinking?
What am I drinking?
No, you were drinking. Oh, you were drinking the new Riff.
That's right.
Yeah. So okay, single barrel, really great stuff. Good stuff. I mean, they don't do many of those, but it was a store select, so I was really happy I got one. Does it have the little hot there? Caramel notes, vanilla notes. What do you think? I've got the.
Yeah, nice and easy.
Yeah. C.H. Taylor. It always comes in clutch. Though I did have a girl that actually did it with an old fashioned.
Excuse me?
She did it as an old fashioned. She did it with
okay.
She did. She did it as an old fashioned, not with an old fashioned. Way to go. Good job, man. You are listening. You know, for anybody who doesn't know who Leo is, Leo actually is undercover. He does a lot of undercover work, don't you? I mean, works as a primary. And when I'm saying primary, talking about the DR. Right? In Tyler, Texas, if anybody doesn't know where we're at, this is Jackson's Theater, Cobra Lounge. We're at 108 East Commerce over in Gladewater, Texas. They say antique capital of East Texas, but I don't believe it. Because we are more diverse now as we're starting to get things going.
Much better.
But you're in Tyler, so your practice is in Tyler, which is great, and it's nice, and you save lives and all that other great stuff. But in a couple of years, you're going to retire. Right. Okay.
Right.
And you had said, I'm going to work at Lowe's. So we're kind of upgrading. Or I told you, you're going to go ahead and maybe, like, I don't know, maybe work with us over at the theater.
Don the apron here?
Don the apron. Actually, just don great. I would say don the old home improvement, belt, and maybe fix things. So seriously, but what I was saying is, like, his main focus right now is his music. And what kind of music are you doing?
And what's happening here at Jackson's, I have been completely enamored with it and was inspired. I haven't done a show since 2017. That was the last time I performed live.
What was it?
Where was it?
No, what was it?
What was it? Electronic music.
Yeah, so this is what I was getting at. So you're doing you're pretty astute in the electronica field.
By astute, I can play some shows. I have a studio. I'm a weirdo in their studio.
And you have a couple of albums out. I say albums. No one has CD players anymore, so they have albums. But you do have CDs,
right? Yeah. I've got 7 right now. And
what does it go as? What's the name of it go as?
What's that?
What is the name of the band or the group?
Oh, my band is named Good with an infinity symbol.
See, that's what I didn't understand. So the O and the O is an infinity.
Right.
Brilliant.
I'm not God.
Promise. No.
Promise.
So it's G infinity D.
Yeah.
No E at the back.
G to the infinite D.
Yes, he is the OG of the good of the infinite D, man. Come on, man. That's that simple. So, but I mean, like, is it a combination of just BPM electronica, or is it BPM electronica jazz, or lo-fi chill hop?
Wow. Yeah, I never did micro genreize myself, so I ended up I just tell people I do disco, and I use that term in a broad sense. If you say I do electronic music, then I think they picture like John Cage or something,
Right.
and or they picture Kraftwerk or
See, the problem with
I
John,
don't know.
but you bring up a cool point because John Cage really, I mean, he was just more or less almost an innovator of that as well, man. I mean, he used so many different types of synths. He used his Moogs and everything like that. I mean, is that what you're kind of?
And we used junk when we were first starting out. Yeah, when I first was putting music together with some other people, we had everything from, overturned oil barrels and a crushed piece of guardrail. That was like one of our favorite instruments. It was hanging from my friend's ceiling. This guy named Thomas, who inspired me to become what I've become today. And he had this huge guardrail hanging from his ceiling, and it was a wonderful instrument, a lot of different intonation. So,
was it really literally a guardrail?
yes. He drug this crushed guardrail home one day, and we were like, man, what are you going to do with that? And he's like, I'm going to play it. It's like, cool.
Oh, my God.
I need to become this guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we did. We did experimental music, which once again kind of gives you this, it puts a thought in people's minds. So I think you just have to hear it and hear what's happening.
When you talk about experimental music, like the first thing I think about is like we were talking about the other day, like the Aphex Twins, and I think Craig Armstrong is also a really, really good when it comes to that, but his is a little more instrumental, Mike Oldfield, which big fan of. Tiesto, I don't think is probably your genre as much as what.
But I've said experimental music to people before, and they're like, Anthony Braxton? And I'm like, no, right.
Yeah.
I'm not that good.
No, but I mean, still, John Cage, man, was pretty much experimental. And if you listen to his stuff, it's you've got to really almost kind of find where he starts and where he ends, So, but I mean, he's still a brilliant.
One of my favorite things is to take something and try to destroy it. So if we, I inherited my dad's accordion, and we went as fast as it could, just trying to find the extremes of each instrument.
And ladies and gentlemen, Leo Helm, who's actually Leo Helm has a YouTube channel. He's got CDs as well. Good, infinite good. Speaking with us. One thing that we had discussed about, and one of the things that we have in common, is jazz. And it's interesting to find some cat who goes and plays with your liver, tells you that you only got 6 months to live, and also says, hey, by the way, man, I'm really into Charles Mingus and Aphex Twins. And, we're here. And that's how I met Leo. So how are you sampling jazz music? Because Leo will be performing here April 22nd, March 22nd, a little bit earlier for Flight of the Conchords. What's a lot of people do that. A lot of people are starting to sample a lot more with, Verve labels, and they've always been doing that. How are you doing that? And
so
making it
sampling is one of the ways I got into electronic music. I was a guitar player initially, like in high school, and I got together with this guy named Steve, and he got a sampler one day, and we just thought that was the most fantastic thing. And at that same time, the mid '80s, all this stuff is coming together: hip hop, jazz, big beat, electronic music, and I was absorbing all of those things, and so we started using the sampler, unlike most people. So we would go and sample like Buddy Rich, because he was. How are we going to get a better drummer? Let's just go for the top, and sample this guy. But then sampling got a little touchy later on to where. Nobody would do it because then James Brown would come and find you,
and that was the thing. That was it. Yeah, it's true.
Take all your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that I think that with a lot of the jazz music, what we were doing was we were sampling the progressions, actually, and if there was just something that was going in there, because a lot of people were actually, using a lot of Miles Davis's stuff, and they would go ahead and they would run these patches and then sample it with some backbeats, because and back in the day was the Roland 808 or the M808. And we was like, man, this would be really freaking cool just to put this trumpet lick in there, because you only had to use so many seconds of it. But when I was listening to your stuff, yours is like intergalactic, man. I mean, you have like some intergalactic shit that I'm like going, what the F? I mean, it's like one of those moments where you're like going, okay, I got to hear the next one. I got to hear the next one, because I'm going through this journey that what you do. And I don't know if you're using it in sequence with your music, but and I'm going in a roundabout way, talking about, sampling and Miles Davis, and you were going, oh, yeah, and James Brown. But, James Brown, he's made tons of money with it, with his sequencing, because, but it wasn't really James Brown, it was Maceo Parker, because Maceo Parker was his band leader, and those horn licks is what they wanted. That's what every rapper wanted. So I'm kind of curious, because what is it that, where do you find your pocket in, as far as, is it the horns? Is it the vocals, or is it just the whole instrumentation as well?
Well, we were going for beats. Like my whole thing is beats. So we would go for those, and then we would mutilate those things. Like if we did pull some horns, we would make it completely unrecognizable. So there are things that are samples in some of my earlier music that it's like, good luck figuring out where I pulled that from, because we would put phasers and different types of metallizers and different effects processes on it, and we would go ballistic on it, and then make it to where nobody could figure out where it came from. So that was one of our secrets.
And how are you doing now, as far as like, because you've got new school gear?
True. So after I saw enough people have to pay James Brown off or the Rolling Stones off, I was like, I just need to go out and purchase. So I buy canned beats. You can go to these websites and order up a bunch of beats, and there are some fantastic studio drummers putting things together. They'll tell you what tempo it's in. Right. They'll put a fill. They'll put an ending. They'll put an intro. So I just take those things and drop them in a DAW, and then create a lot of the music.
Now, the problem is that if you're using that, then you have to incorporate all the fills and everything, and so you just can't really keep this steady tempo through the whole thing. Well, now, some of it, but and let me finish, because some of the stuff that you have there's literally, I don't even hear it, because I mean there's more ambient for you that when I hear it, and which is really cool. But there was, I think it was was it the latest one that had the more of the jazz stuff that did have some, you could hear there was a little drum patterns and drum loops over there. So I didn't realize that you bought those. I thought you were just patching them in through your drum pads.
Well, then you layer them. So then, I started. You might think, well, that's too much, but I've lived off of groups that have sometimes 2 or 3 drummers, like King Crimson or the Butthole Surfers. Can I say the Butthole Surfers?
Yeah, I love the Butthole Surfers.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
You can't. I said shit, so you could say Butthole Surfers.
It used to be you couldn't say the Butthole Surfers on the radio, and then one day they forced Casey Kasem to actually have to say the Butthole Surfers.
You might have to you might have to let the audience know who Kasem is. Do you know who Kasem was? Dude, I don't think
America's Top 40 or American Bandstand. What did he do?
American Top 40 Bandstand. Yeah. No, he was. He did the Top 40 like on the radio. I didn't realize he was like from Turkey or some Pakistan or something. He was an actor. He was a starving actor. He was doing like episodes of Quincy and things like that. But his voice is what got him. He died a weird way. By the way, for anybody who hasn't heard some of his stuff, so Leo actually is in a show March 22nd, and I don't know about the rights or anything like that, but here's something that he does here. So we put this together, and it's a slightly different, but you can hear it. So let's explain how we did this.
So basically that's reaching into Bill Withers and then putting some beats on top of it, looping it, finding the places you can let the music breathe.
Now see, I like this breakdown right here. This is the breakdown I like right here. It almost sounds like that you've laid on top of a layer on top of a layer there.
Entirely possible.
How long did it take you to make that?
We talked on Friday, and it was done on Sunday, and I sent it to you.
And how did you take all the vocals out on this?
You just work with the loops where there aren't vocals, and sometimes it's a 4, sometimes it's a 8 or a 16, and you just piece them together.
Are you using Cubase?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of sequencer are you using? Do you use sequencers?
No, I'm just using Cubase, and inside of Cubase, the other system I lean on quite a bit, other than just canned beats and samples, is I'll use the Arturia system, which is awesome.
The Arturia system is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to use mine. I still got it packaged, but I've got to make friends with it first. You know. It's kind of
it's
weird.
wonderful. It's the gateway to like 20, 25 cents plus. Like you could buy sound banks, so I'm up to 16,000 sounds.
Really?
Yeah, it's
How
incredible.
much did that run you?
Actually not that much. Like you just keep kind of upgrading it, and you can buy a sound library of 30 sounds for like $9.
You know, it's funny. You know, I got that Roland. I have a Roland X4, which yes, it's prehistoric and it's heavy, but it still has these kick-ass patches. I mean, the orchestration is spot on, and if you haven't had one, you haven't tried it, you've got to try it, and I have it in the back. But what I find interesting is that what used to be a $4,500 piece, their arpeggio drum loops are shit, and I think I'm hoping Roland has gotten better with that. But as far as their patches, awesome. I did find that nowadays you can go ahead and almost get like these, and I know Appleton does it, but these plugins for guitar, for bass, you don't even have to you don't have to know how to play guitar to actually sound like put it on your track. So when we did covered, I wrote about 8 or 9 songs, and I went to Jupiter Records and I had it produced there. The guy used Cubase, and everything was literally him playing a few licks. We played a few licks. He goes cut and paste. Drum loops were already filled, right? Played a little piano. That was filled. Everything literally. And it sounded so freaking good. And I've always been more of, Cubase was great, but you know, I was using the standard for recording. And for a life of me, I can't remember it, but it's the one they use in recording studios. There you go. But Cubase seems to be like the one that you would use for home only. Mm-hmm. And you've been using that for, I guess, forever, right?
A long time. I had some crummy system when I first started out, but I think you have to stick with something. At some point, your tolerance for the learning curve just diminishes.
Do you are you an Appleton guy, or
no,
not at all?
Never used it.
It is definitely a learning curve. That I don't know why, and I thought that Cubase had a big learning curve, but Appleton is really weird. If you start out real young on it, man, it is easy. It is easy. The only thing is it doesn't for your tracks, that when you put the tracks in, it doesn't recognize. So it does literally, like if you have to literally eliminate a lot of tracks, and then you have to name the tracks because if you don't, it won't recognize what you're playing. It's really strange, and I've had a lot of people say that with Appleton. But as far as Cubase, I've done Cubase. My problem with Cubase is that if let's say you do a show, you finish a show and try to finish it in Cubase, that's difficult. And I don't know why. I did an Elvis show, and I got the raw, and then from the raw, I tried to actually get all of the things mixed to put it in a really, because I just had the rough mix on it. It just didn't sound as good. So I had to go to the recording studio, Crystal Clears, and they went ahead and they fixed it up. But I don't know why I just don't remember what it was. It's not Adobe, but it is kind of an Adobe thing. So Mac has the Cubase, and then Microsoft has Adobe, and that's how it works. But being that it's you, how many tracks do you literally pull on one song?
Oh, geez, you have to scroll through them like that multi-tracking. You know how one day somebody asked the Beatles, "Why do you need more than 4 tracks?"
Right.
And they showed you, on Sergeant Pepper's, this is what you can do with more than 4 tracks. Well, anyway, I can use 30 or so. Like I'll have one track that just does the echo off of another track, and then I manipulate that somehow. So
Doesn't think it gets a little busy though?
It can become insane,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter because it's like it's all in the digital world, and it's what
Right.
you're trying to do.
But and that was the other thing is that how many tracks is enough? Until we start to lose a little bit of the integrity of the music.
I definitely do that. My music is busy, and I've been told that, and so
I will say, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm going to correct you on this. It's not. But then again, I'm a Tasmanian devil. I mean, because I go at 105 miles an hour.
Jack can handle it.
Yeah,
All right.
I have to be in my car, and people say you should listen to meditation. I listen to ska and punk, and that relaxes me. It's really weird. Your music, even though it's extremely, God dog, and I don't want to say busy, bro, and I don't even want to say congested, but it's saturated. But it makes me feel good because it all has this kind of ribbon that you tie on it, and it does put you into it's trance. I mean, we talk about electronica, but there's this trance idea that you put into it as well, which I think is brilliant, man. It's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, but back to your thing. I mean, you say people have told you that.
So I've learned to let it breathe a little bit more, put some better breaks into it, and I think I've adapted a little bit over time. I've been accused of producing walls of sound, which is okay for some songs. If you look at mastering these days, I mean, there are people who literally it looks like just this band going across, but so I do want to let it breathe a little bit more.
Now, you said you do master your own stuff, right?
No, I absolutely turned that over to DES Mastering in Dallas. A guy there, he's a pretty cool guy. He's got a studio with just crazy stuff in it that I can never afford, and he has all these action figures all over his studio. So I try to visit him when I can, but he takes my stuff and he will do things that there were mistakes you didn't even know about in your music. I think it's important to have somebody else look at it and evaluate that final passage.
Oh, golly, those mastery guys, man. That's like going to a principal or going to your dad and say, really? Is this what you're going to give me? Come on, man. You didn't do your homework. I remember going to my first master, and he was really cool. His name was Clark. And he had a T-shirt, had Snickers on it, right? Kind of a nerdy dude. And the first thing he said, this, if you want this, you cannot master yourself because this is what you want. When women go to party and they want to listen in the car, that's your master. That's what the master is. You got to have some on the left. You got to have some on the right. You got to have some on the center. You can't have everything in the front end, man, rocking you this way because then it becomes tinty. It becomes nappy. It becomes a little. It's just loud. It's not in the surround sound where the right ear gets satisfied, the left ear gets satisfied, your palate gets satisfied. This dude literally made me feel like I totally made a mistake getting into music. I mean, seriously. I don't know what it was with your guy, but I mean, with me, he like took me to school, humbled me, and just like my first band that I played with, when I played guitar with him, and the guy was like, he was a black dude too. Yes, I said that, but he was a different colored dude. I should say that. And he said the first thing he said, "You gonna play that?" He said, "You go," and it was in a film I was doing, and he said, "You gonna play that?" And I said,
That's like asking your wife, "Are you going to wear that?" Really? That's
"Exactly."
trouble.
Well, I mean, and Leo, it was like the thing is, it was like I wrote the music. I wrote the music, but I didn't do all the soloing. And this dude who was salty. You gonna play that? And I said, yeah. What's wrong with it? He goes, yeah, maybe you need to lay out for a little bit. Let me take over on this one. From that point on, it took me 3 to 4 years to get over it. And I took that $30 guitar and I made it my bitch.
Well, this guy I took my stuff to. He's normally producing like Zydeco, and
Yeah.
it was nothing that he had ever heard. So I brought it to him, and he's like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." So he was totally into it, and I can tell him things. You can go to these people, and you don't have to speak technically to them. You can just say, "Look, it just sounds rubbery."
Right.
You could. It sounds tinny. Can you take that little bit of crashiness out of it? And
He told you that.
yeah, so I can talk to him in terms that I can relate to, and then he turns it into pretty decent sounding music.
Which was really cool because I've never heard of anybody actually do that. Because then he acted like a producer as well. I mean, right?
Yeah, he was not doing the mixing. Like he was handed what he was handed, but then went over the mastering. Every time it comes back, I'm always feeling like it. Wow, it sounds better than I ever imagined it would. So it
I mean, I mean, you got free. I mean, literally, you got free production off of that.
it's not free.
Well,
but
no. What I'm saying, but like, I mean, if God, I've gone through this, bro. I've gone through this where I've literally had somebody who had a third ear, and literally said, maybe you should sing it this way. And you're in love with your shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're in love with your shit, you're gonna like, no, you meant to be tinty. You meant to be crashy. You meant to put that in. And then all of a sudden you got some cat who does Zydeco and say like, nah, that shouldn't be there. Yeah, but it's a totally different genre. How would you trust that?
Yeah, he never has any contest with what he is handed.
He has no dog in the hunt.
Right. So it's just like, look, you want me to produce this, you going nuts on a shortwave radio? That's fine.
Now you do have okay. So on our break, we're gonna go ahead and get Leo. Got to get some of his stuff. He's got some stuff on YouTube and Spotify, and we'll play a little bit of it so that you could hear it. And to be honest with you, I was kind of skeptical about somebody coming in and wanting to do electronica and wanting to do something that would be an ambient thing because, being that we're a jazz club, being that we do that stuff, I was kind of, like I said, I was a little more sketch. And then after listening to it, I was like, okay, he's the real deal. But still, Zydeco and electronica is still totally different genres, bro. I mean, don't you think?
Correct. Although maybe I should get one of those washboards and start using that in some of my songs.
And see, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break, and then it's going to be a very mini break for a little commercial break, and then we're going to talk about how jazz was influenced on my guy, Leo Helm. But first thing is first, we want to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the Jackson's Cozy Lounge. We've got bourbon. We've got jazz. Lots of jazz. We've got shows, we've got musicals. Sophie and the New Relics coming February 1st. February 14th, dueling pianos. February 8th, the Scott Daniels Quartet. March 22nd, Fly the Conchords. It's a tribute, of course. Leo is playing in the back. He's kind of doing all the other stuff that we don't do as acoustic guitarists. But most of all, we do a lot of loungy drinking, booze, noshy, Thursday through Sunday, 5 to 12. Friday, Saturday, 5 to 2, and we'd have a nice little brunch from 11 to 4. One of the things that you and I had always talked about, and that's what really got us going, was the movement of jazz in East Texas. No one would have ever thought that. Hee-haw, karaoke, ribs. Here comes me. We're doing this. You're the only guy, really the only guy that was like, saw the writing on the wall, said, this is a heads up. I mean, am I right or am I wrong?
Right. I walked into the cozy lounge, and there was a trumpet player and a organ player, and I was like,
Right there.
"What in the world?" And I live 5 miles from here, so it's like,
Easy.
geez, dream come true.
On a farm.
Yeah, and when I'm done, I just go back to my farm, pet some donkeys, hug a goat. Yeah,
I made the mistake to say that he had cows and pigs. He goes, no, no. Now, if anybody who doesn't know Leo the way I do, Leo reminds me of a really cool. He's a combination of Kenny Burrell and William Shatner. And if anyone who doesn't know Kenny Burrell, man, I think you need to look that up. He's a really cool jazz guitarist, but not like Chet Baker, because Chet Baker was slightly drugged up. But hey, much props to Chet Baker. But yeah, definitely a William Shatner. Knows his bourbon well. And but knows his single malt scotch as well. If you had your druthers, best single malt scotch you've had, or how about just single malts or whiskeys?
Does Balvenie count?
Got to be.
Yeah,
Which one?
the Caribbean.
Got to be.
Yeah,
Easy to drink. And I think that with everything that you do, I think that's how we're kind of kin in this. We're almost very soulful in our universe, is that we know what to drink that's good. And as you can tell, we have got great style. He's Leo, the Lizard Lounge. And as well as like jazz music. Tell me what influenced you in getting jazz music.
where did jazz come in?
For you, I mean,
I was listening. I think I grew up on. Sounds like what you grew up on, punk.
yeah.
And then I transitioned to kind of post-punk when we had the little flock of hair right here. That
The flock of seagulls.
You'd have to flip that thing out of the way. So I was listening to Bauhaus and New Order and kind of following that
Love
path.
New Order.
And
Was it Crowded House or was it Madhouse?
yeah, Madhouse.
Madhouse. Got to have Madhouse. Man.
And the Specials.
Got to have the Specials.
Right.
Yeah. Bollocks, Sex Pistols.
So anyway, I was going through kind of more, I would say, psychedelic music. Getting into early Jimi Hendrix, early Carlos Santana, and once you're there, it's a very short jump to jazz. So then I started listening to kind of where everybody starts, which is John Coltrane, just because of the power of that music. And then I think the thing that really tipped me over is one day I was at my friend's house. And we listened to Charles Mingus' Black Saint and the Sinner Lady.
Oh, amazing!
And
amazing.
That like completely blew me away. It was like haunting, and powerful, and it was like Duke Ellington but dark,
right?
Really potent music all the way through. We sat and we listened to the whole. Back when there were albums, we'd have to flip it over,
Right.
And that pretty much sold me on jazz, and I said, this is the direction. And then once you're there, it's a little disconcerting because it's like I'm never going to get to the end of this journey.
Right.
We'll have so much jazz in front of me that it's hopeless, but at the same time, it's like, well, I've got lots of things to listen to all the way through the rest of my life.
My first one was I listened to a Sidney Bechet album. And I found and the thing with Sidney Bechet is that his clarinet playing was freaking. I mean, I don't know how people can play like that. And I was listening to him doing "Summertime," which totally just threw me off for a loop. Played that. I played the whole album that he had. I played "My Foolish Things" and "Summertime," and there was. Autumn in New York, but he had this haunting, like you were talking about, haunting sound. That was my first time, and then I got into John Coltrane. Okay, I'm gonna put this out there. John Coltrane, my favorite things, awesome, and that was another album my father used to, he got from the library. Other than that, and I play John Coltrane here all the time. But you got to be in the mood for it. You've got to be by yourself. You totally got to be by yourself. Especially, man, for some of the stuff, it's because he was so out there. I mean, his improvisational skills were just maddening. But then I got into, after that, I got into Art Blakely, and Art Blakely was kind of like where things started happening for me. Why, as far as jazz-wise. You were talking about Charles Mingus. Charles Mingus was the same, but he was mad, dude. He was just insane. Charles Mingus was an insane bass player. What I enjoyed, what got me over the hump of jazz music was that I got away from the, like every time you bought an album from Duke Ellington or Louis Armstrong, you got the static. It was the static and the Benny Goodman. It was that old feel that they had to put in the CDs, but it was, and then then when music became a little clearer, I was like, okay, now I can feel that, I can hear that. Sing, Sing, Sing is great as far as, what it was, but when you hear it in a different form, Jumping at Woodside, when you hear it in a different form, which was Count Basie, but you hear it in a different form, it's like, wow, okay, I need to go back and hear it the way it was when they did it. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, jazz was more clear in a way when it didn't have that 1940s, 1930s feel, you know?
Yeah, when I found post-bop, it was like, okay, well, here's where I rest. That and fusion. So I really, when I was exposed to Bitches Brew and some of the early Miles Davis and Mahavishnu
When you're talking
Orchestra
about, now, I'm pretty sure your audience will know, or maybe the Jacksons' audience will know. We're talking about fusion. We're not talking about Spinal Tap, right?
Right.
It's jazz fusion. But we're talking about more like Jan Klemmer, things like that. Or what was it? The Freedia 5. There was another group that, Chick Corea did a lot of
Return
jazz.
to Forever,
for
sure.
Absolutely. Whose sound is still, it's still, I can hear it, But Chick Corea, of course, again, you hear from the 80s, it's a totally different. You can feel like, has it been dated? You know what I mean? So, but influences for you was who?
Oh, big time Mahavishnu Orchestra, I would say.
Really?
Somebody who reached into almost this spiritual state and pulled that forward into some really rockin', awesome music. They can be extremely heavy-handed, like almost metal at times, and then they can ease back. So I liked groups that were kind of playing with the periphery of what can jazz do, where else can jazz go, and then right around that time, hip hop, was coming up, and then we saw this very different perspective.
Did they still use jazz like Booyah Tribe?
Oh yeah,
Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, that was Arrested Development. They did use a lot of jazz influences. That was like in the '90s, the early '90s.
Yep.
And that totally drove my music. Kind of like knowledge, like skyrocketed up. I don't understand. It was, but then I thought like. And we're going to talk about this, but it was like it went from there to Beastie Boys. It's like it went from like this really cool, jazz fusion hip hop type thing to Led Zeppelin. It was really crazy. But even Led Zeppelin, it still had jazz influence as well, man. I mean, Jimmy Page was actually a big fan of Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix played for Jimi Hendrix played for James Brown, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played for James Brown. And James Brown was, his influences was from jazz aficionados, man, jazz players. I was like thrilled. Like when I met you, I was like, wow, okay, cool, let's make this happen. When I was growing up in New York, my whole thing was Village Vanguard. It was always the Vanguard, always feeling like you can go. And then Fort Worth had a place called the Caravan of Dreams, which, a lot of famous jazz players would play there. But, I mean, it was contemporary jazz, not like it was traditional jazz. So where you and I are kind of similar is that we still stick to the old rooted stuff, correct?
Yeah, and smooth jazz, I used to kind of pass on that, and then I changed my mind at some point. I think Marcus Miller helped me
Right.
change my mind about smooth jazz. I was like, why'd you straighten the beat? I don't want you to straighten the beat.
Yeah.
And now I've come to accept it, and smooth jazz is actually heading in some different directions too, and makes you wonder where it'll go next. I think next really is people like Square Pusher, you know, somebody who's an electronic and kind of a jazz musician combining those things and just running it through the blender, you know, just turning
Right.
jazz into, you know, like you said, Aphex Twin.
I kind of
basically.
like, you're talking about, smooth jazz, Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
I was playing something even today, man. I mean, it's like it still holds, man. David Benoit still holds, man. I like Dave Benoit. He did his little thing with he broke out with the Peanuts CD with Dave Grisham, and I thought, yeah, okay, cool, man. But Dave Benoit is still there. But I mean, I still can hold what I think when I hear Stanley Turrentine play, man. I mean, God, his sax is just emphatic, man. But going back to what the Vanguard was, it's something that have always kind of wanted to move towards in a very undirectional way. You know what I'm saying? It's like I always wanted to be there, and in some route, can I make something like that ever happen in life? And if you were to tell me that I was going to do that 10 years ago and say, you're going to go in the middle of nowhere and you're going to have this jazz movement in East Texas, there'd be no way, bro. There'd be no way, bro. That'd be like me seeing you in the middle of nowhere go, I remember this guy.
But it's happening.
It's happening.
Here we are.
Here we are.
You know, I walked in here with George Faber.
Right.
And it was like stepping into a surreal dream. The audience was just like you'd find at the Vanguard. Nobody was speaking.
Right.
Nobody said anything. Nobody was clicking a glass. There was no noise coming from the bar. It was just people really listening. And he heard us listening, and he even commented on that.
He said, y'all need to start clapping a little bit. Do what we're supposed to do in jazz.
Right.
It's good to clap a little bit.
Yeah. But that was fantastic seeing that band here tonight. And I get that same feeling because I've been to the Vanguard too, and that's a must-go place when I go to New York.
It's a temple of jazz, man. It's a temple. That guy, and I was telling you, man, it was just this little small Jewish guy, man, that just went ahead and just bought something and brought jazz players in. And I've always believed that if there's always room for something that has been born and bred in America, and you had said something that was really cool because you had said something about you talked about France and Holland, Amsterdam. What is the biggest jazz festival in the world? What was the biggest jazz? Montreal. Montreal Jazz Festival. Where did Count Basie and Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday and where did they all go? They went to France, man. That's like where the when the beatnik thing started really coming about, and it was beatnik and jazz and bebop, man. And it was like that moment where you started to say, well, this was born and bred in America, but look who's really enjoying this. It's Europeans. And I think being that jazz is kind of a dying breed, there's not many places other than, like you said, Zydeco, where they have their jazz festival. Jazz festivals are once a year, but where can you do jazz? And that's where I felt like, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to make this move, And if it was not for you, I probably would have said, I'm going to say, fuck this. I'm not going to do it. But I'm not going to do any hee-haw karaoke stuff either.
No, but I've been thinking about hee-haw lately and what
Which
you're
one?
doing. All of them. I've watched the entire DVD box set of hee-haw.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yep.
No, I lost it. I lost respect for you.
But you know what you have done? You brought back variety theater. When you show up here, you can see anything. You have
absolutely.
no idea what you're going to run into.
Yeah.
Comedy, whatever.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and plays and just any kind of different entertainment. I don't think there's too many places who can pull that off.
No, it's not a lot, but
I don't
you
know
know,
if
it
any
took a
around
little
here.
while, and plus we do club nights, you know, Studio 54 nights. But I think we're rooted into, especially when, you know, this jazz festival that we're doing. You know, I want to be rooted in that, and I want to be the go-to. I want us to be the go-to of, you know, festivals in East Texas. You know, okay, go back a long distance away. Coming back a short distance correctly. If you were to do it, if you were not here, where would you do your music?
Oh, geez, I wouldn't. That's the end of the road. If I try to go down to Houston and convince somebody to allow me to play in their club, it just doesn't happen. Like booking shows to me was one of the most painful things of all time. Like there's just all this rejection and yeah, we'll get back with you. And I found a club. Well, it's not a club. It was a sushi restaurant called Shogun that was in Tyler. And this guy, Tay, is the owner. And he happened to be a DJ.
Right.
And I said, I do music. He says, you're kidding. And I gave him some. And he's like, man, any Saturday night, you come here. Every Saturday night if you want to be here. And so I did. And so I did lots of shows at Shogun. And it was a great venue because...
So wait a minute, you were a DJ first.
No. He was, and I would show up and do my live electronic performance.
Yeah.
And he would DJ it though.
Really?
And it was just so welcoming and so easy. And at the end of the night, he would put this huge platter of sushi together, and that was my payment.
Hey, well, job well done, buddy. We didn't make much today, but you've got some dried tuna.
No, he would put some good stuff out.
Yes.
So we had fantastic sushi, and my friends would show up, my colleagues would show up, and we had some
Did
great
he lit
times.
you up with alcohol as well?
Yes.
That's most important. When when you're saying like you were like excited about DJing and this, it's really weird to think of you as a doctor as well. I kind of think of you as Dr. Feelgood rather than, you know, the guy that gives the bad news. The guy that just goes and said, hey, sit down, have a drink, buddy. Yeah, we got a little issue. It's just weird how I think you relate more to the idea of, well, I call it the push and pull. You know, what we do in life every day is our push. What we want to do in life is our pull. I think music is your pull. What you do in life is push. How the hell did you get into that, bro?
It's always been a fixture. You know, one of the things was, you know, I have a very receptive spouse to what I do.
Right.
So she's been very supportive. She's tolerated extremely loud volumes at
But your
many
spouse
hours.
is also an artist as well. Let everybody know that.
Is she? What does she do?
Well, I mean,
Animal art?
I think she paints, doesn't she?
No. Her dad did. Now her dad was
Okay, well,
was
there you go. I missed out on that one,
fantastic
pal.
wildlife artist. No, Sharon can draw like a circle, maybe. She's
150 circles.
good. She's good. She has her own artistic points, and
But
Yeah,
I mean,
but
seriously, bro. But I mean, seriously. I mean, you went from. You're talking, like you and I are talking in the same pocket, but then you go here. You know, a lot of people just say. A lot of people will say, "I think I should be a lawyer rather than an actor because lawyer makes me more money. I'm not going to do what I love." Was that the same thing, or did you really like being a doctor?
no, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to bash it, but it's if you ask me, well, who are you? You know, this is who I am. Who you see here,
Yeah.
or the guy in the studio,
Right.
You know, lately, like this month, January, I took this month off, and I'm very comfortable just staring out into the pasture, and then coming in and jamming, and creating some music.
Leo
and,
Helm wants me to talk about his farm for a while because he keeps pointing that out. I like the way he pivots there. So about your farm, I know that I made a mistake and said that there were cows and pigs, but you have a goat.
3 goats.
What do the goats do?
Comedy. Have you ever worked at a sports bar?
Yeah, no. Really, what do you mean comedy?
Well, they do comedy, and they're kind of bullies, and they're Nubians, so they got these big long ears. They look like Jar Jar Binks, except they're kind of thuggish, and they.
I think that you and I are the only ones who know Mr. Banks. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, you live in Gladewater, right?
We live between Gladewater and Liberty City.
So Gladewater and Liberty City is not really much of a jazz cult over there.
Not
You got
much.
3 ghosts that are comedians. Ones that look like Jar Banks, right? He's Rastafarian, right?
Yep.
And your wife is also primary. What kind of... Does she have an interest like you do in music?
You know, she will. She tolerates so much, and she will go to shows with me. She'll go to shows that you wouldn't expect her to.
But
like,
is it? I mean, but she's not. Is she a jazz lover or is she just a chill lover? I mean,
No, she will.
what would she watch? What's her big thing?
What would she listen to
Other than me?
You know, she goes along for the ride, I think, and she does like jazz. And when we come here, we always like what we see together.
Right.
What happens is if there are too many saxophones, she doesn't really like Coltrane. She doesn't really want to deal with Coltrane.
Yeah.
The Luke Trio.
Yeah, Luke Trio.
That's her speed.
More bebop.
Yeah, jazz guitar.
Yeah.
It's more about the instruments, and then the if you're playing too far out, like if the band is like rooted in Impulse, like the Impulse label.
Right.
She's not so into that.
Yeah.
And
I think it still has to have structure, though. I mean, see, we go back to this jazz part. Like, what Luke Briette brings is kind of that Kenny Burrell feel. But you got to have structure. You just can't have like a whole bunch of guys just say, okay, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn. And then you do a 2-key song with a turnaround, and then, okay, your turn, and your turn, and your turn. Because those do get long. So then the set, which is supposed to be 50 minutes long, is still 50 minutes, but you're only playing 3 songs. It's really interesting because, like I said, Jan Klemmer had he does that all the time. His improvisation album literally has 2 songs, 1 on each side. It's just crazy. And I think that is a little bit kind of selfish and self-centered. Listen to what I can do. And I'm pretty sure that they do many different takes. It's not like as if, though, they go ahead and say, we're going to do this all in one track. You got to get a really good producer to actually do that, to actually know where the cut goes and where to where to go ahead and pump you back in.
Used to be the album side.
Yeah.
You would have to catch the flip of the album, like Coltrane Live in Japan, where it's 1 song per album side.
Jeez.
It's like an 8-album set. It's for the brave.
Isn't that great? I mean, seriously, that's why people do a lot of drugs when they watch Coltrane. But then Coltrane was a pilgrimage anyway, and then you look at like we're heading. We go from farm to jazz again. You see?
We can get back to the farm.
You can go back to the farm. Boom. Okay, we go back to the farm. Here we go. So you have these goats who are Rastafarian. They're comedians. Jabba Ranks, I love. And then Sharon, your wife, just goes along for the ride.
Well, and her.
When are you guys going to make a trip someplace what's your next trip to go to?
Oh gosh, we haven't decided. America, really. We're gonna do we're gonna do something local. We do like to travel. We do like a big one every few years.
Right.
Like a couple of years ago, we were in Iceland.
Nice.
So that was like
Did you go scuba diving there?
No, it's cold.
Yeah, but it's great scuba diving, I heard.
Probably so, but I'm not.
Never thought of
I
it?
touched the water. No, we did. We did go into a volcanic spa You show up there and it's smells like somebody ate a bunch of egg sandwiches and then farted about 10,000 times, and then you get in the water and it's really rejuvenating.
Yeah.
And it's like 105 in the pool, and it's like 40 outside, so you have to run to the spa and jump in all of a sudden.
Do you know that Iceland actually is one of the most healthiest countries in the world?
It's got to be.
And let me explain why. The Earth is dense with minerals because of the volcanic grounds that it's under. So you see these guys, they're like freaking amazingly big. They eat soups, they eat salads, and they all work out, and they have big workout facilities because it's cold. But because of the soil being so dense with minerals, you'll never see an Icelandic, look emaciated. But they drink the nastiest ass liquor, and I don't even know what the hell it was called, but it's just like really, and they drink and they eat 100-year-old drunken smelled salted fish. That's kind of like their, yeah. It's that like the Alaskans, they do with the fish heads. This is what they do in Iceland, and it's
Luskfisk.
What is it?
Luskfisk.
Is that fish? That one, or is it the
Surströmming is the other
Surströmming is the fish. That's nasty. It smells nasty. But man, I'm telling you what, I wouldn't want to mess with an Icelander. No, there's no way. Even the women look just as big as them, and they all got beards, man. No, I'm just playing. I don't think they do. But yeah, it's. I think I've always wanted to be in Iceland, but I've always wanted to go some places where I can actually, be myself. Be bohemian, you dig? So I'm not like having to be, I don't want to have to go to a Dairy Queen. I don't have to go to a BJ's. I don't have to go to an Olive Garden. I just want to go and do what the locals do. I don't know if you've ever been in any place like that. Have you?
Iceland is for you.
Iceland, Denmark, Switzerland. Switzerland and Amsterdam, they love jazz there. They do.
It's a very young country. Like there's a lot of.
Have you ever been to
there.
Japan?
Almost.
Yeah, I was in Japan.
When I say almost, we had a cruise scheduled for Japan. If you ever want a place destroyed, wiped off the face of the earth, have Sharon and I plan a vacation there. So we were about to go to Japan, and the tsunami hit, and the nuclear meltdown, and that's like a week before we sail. And I'm like, I'm not sailing into a nuclear meltdown. So we ended up getting diverted to Hong Kong, which was great.
Kowloon side? Hong Kong, Kowloon side?
Yes, we were on the island.
Yeah, it's a great place. I was over there. I went to Victoria's Peak over there. It's a great place. Actually, you'd be surprised on Hong Kong. Very, very it's like Beverly Hills over there.
It's insane. It's like 20 Manhattans.
Yes, exactly. And they're all English or Australian or German. It's wild over there. Now, there's a place over where it's so congested, man. I can't see how they can live over there. I don't know.
Crazy. Yeah.
You think they would have houses over there? But I think that everybody lives like in a freaking apartment over there or something.
Yeah,
like
those high rises that they have. If you have a house, you're like a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
And they pay twice for their cars. Like when you see a Bentley, they paid twice for it.
Get out of here.
It's 100% tax. It's 100% tax. So when you see one of these, and they're all over the place.
Right.
So, but we enjoyed, we like going places where there's like a shock, a culture shock.
Yeah. But you haven't taken Sharon to New York yet, have you?
Oh yeah, we go maybe every couple of years. Yeah.
Have you? But and other than New York, do you ever hit the East Coast a little bit more up to like Maine?
A little bit. We did. We've done Canada not too long ago. We took a little cruise up there around Maine, landed in Boston, and that was good. We probably need to do more of it.
Yeah, I feel like you and I both need to do a little bit more of that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about jazz. We're going to talk about some of Mr. Leo Helm's new projects that's coming up in the next hour of the old Jack Yakk. But the most part, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and tell you where to go on a Thursday through Sunday. Go to the Jackson's Cozy Theater, Jackson's Cozy Lounge, because we are here in Gladewater. We're going to take a little break. And then we're going to come back with Leo Helm, and we're going to listen to a little bit of his music that he's got on Spotify. You can catch him on Spotify. He's got a little swag he's also going to show you and talk to you about. He's got a couple of engaging dates at the Jackson's Theater. Yes, where he dons the Superman cape and becomes somebody else. We'll see you in a little bit, and we'll catch you. Grab a drink. We'll come back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So we're back. We're back with Leo. Leo Helm. He's on the helm. We're going to move and groove. We're going to talk about his album, Enchanter, amongst other things. You know, one thing about that, when you get to see him, March 22nd, he'll be playing at Flight of the Conchords tribute. You'll see him in the hat. There'll be also to see him in April. It's going to be performing at the Jackson's Cozy Lounge. So many more things that we have to go through. Also about bourbon, about whiskeys. That's the most important thing about Jackson's Theater. What are we drinking here, Leo?
The Balvenie Caribbean cask.
The Caribbean cask.
Right.
And I've downgraded, bro. I've downgraded because you have really, you've made me want to drink now. So I'm doing the old Crown Apple Coke Zero.
Digestible.
It is digestible. Usually, but the Caribbean cast comes in clutch between the double wood and the 12. I believe the Caribbean, amazing. 14, can't beat that. It's got a little bit of the barrel itself, right? Is Caribbean. They put a little. It's the rum cast that they put together, and they put the whiskey in there just to go ahead and give it a little bit of a Caribbean rum taste. What are your thoughts on that one?
You know, I just come in here and trust you. Like I just say, I don't know what I want, which is normally a terrible
always
thing
dealer's
for
choice.
A bartender to hear. But here you just they know what you want, and they know why you're here, and you get served something fantastic, and then you hear a little history.
But as you drink, you said just right before, because we didn't press record, the McKellen, don't drink it.
Don't drink McKellen after this, because
not after that.
Otherwise, Connor is driving you home.
Well, a little backstory on that. So, Leo did have a birthday here at one point, and we did feed him a little bit of libations that were overabundant to his digestive system that went in reverse. But we finished it off really good. The problem is, and it's a good problem, if you don't mind me saying, we're not here to, nobody comes here to get drunk. You come here to feel good. That's why we have such a wide array of different bourbons. You're not going to drink a $50 bourbon and say, I'm here to get drunk. I'm here to feel good. And I think we fed you the McKellen 12 or 18.
It was the one in the perfume bottle.
The perfume bottle, which was sucked it up, man. What are you going to do? You sucked it up. But what's interesting?
It was the one toke over the line.
Yes, it was just.
Lord Jesus.
There's that moment. That moment when you say, okay, I feel good. If I drink one more, I'm going to get sick. Let's do it. Whatever it was.
It was Connor.
It was Connor. Now, Connor is our workhorse. He does everything here. We've adopted him. Used to be a student. I say student here. Was client here. All our customers are clients. They're not really customers.
All of your customers are students.
And our students of the libation of the bourbon brown tutorial, I think. What do you think?
And of culture.
Culture. Now, saying that, we were talking about, and we're talking about. Let me just touch on this for a little bit. The Elijah Craig. You've touched on that? Okay. So I think for me, the Elijah Craig is probably one of the purest bourbons I believe there is, only because of the fact it's one of the oldest. and one of the biggest ABVs as well. And you've got the single barrel, you've got the toasted, and then you've got the barrel strength. And I think that Elijah Craig being at 110 to 113 to 115 scares a lot of people away. But it is one of the tastiest next to Knob Creek. I think the Knob Creek 9 is one of my favorites for a rye. If I'm going to do one, what would be yours?
That's a go-to now that you've introduced me to it.
Yeah,
so
the Knob Creek. The
I don't
Knob
reach
Creek or
for
the
just
Elijah?
plain Knob Creek. I go
Yeah,
to the 9 or the 11.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't need that in old fashioned. It's the only Knob Creek rye that I would drink neat. Straight. Not a problem. Now, the Peerless rye, I wouldn't give that to my enemy. There's something, I don't know what it is. I think it just tastes like hay. It is just a lot of hay. Now, the Peerless Bourbon is really good. It's wonderful. I did have a guy that come in yesterday and did do some of the Peerless rye. Loved it. I was amazed. I wanted him to leave, but I couldn't because he loved that. He was a fan of it, and so he was like, yeah, I'll take another one. I think after 10 drinks, I mean, you're not going to, anything's going to taste good. But I do like, there's one that the Old Forester, the 1897 is really good. Of course, you're going to have a bunch of Old Forester aficionados that'll say something like, it doesn't taste like that, it doesn't taste like that. Yeah, well, I sell it. I know what it's supposed to taste like. But the 1897 and the 1920 have these wonderful deep cherry notes that I truly enjoy. But the Elijah Craig, the ethers are there, bro. Ethers are there.
Sharon thinks it's funny because when she comes here, she'll order a bourbon and Coke. And you're like, Coke? Coke. What do you need the Coke for?
I know, exactly.
Are you trying to help the Coke out?
I told somebody today, she said she was some type of freaking kung fu expert, man. And they don't drink a lot. Yeah, she was like, they actually they learned under, if I'm saying that right, learned under Bruce Lee's old master dojin, whatever, in L.A. And she doesn't drink, but she'll do mocktails. I said, I'm still going to charge you for the $17. It's going to be the greatest mocktail you'll ever have, so. But I think as far as like what we do as far as bourbon-wise, I mean, we do want to take people on a journey, whatever it is. I mean, whether it's the H or the Buffalo Trace or the Eagle Rare or the Weller's. And the Weller's Special Reserve, the 12 and the Antiqua. No, we don't have the Antiqua, but we do have some really cool stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
So on the mocktails, you do take them seriously.
We do
some
take them
places are like that.
Little grenadine, little pineapple juice will kill it.
But Sharon's had some very nice custom mocktails that she likes.
Where at?
Here.
Really?
Yeah.
Who made them? I don't think it was me.
No, I don't think so.
I digress.
I think it was Allie.
It was probably Allie. And for anybody who doesn't know, I know that my man is throwing a lot of names here. So we have a lot of really great bartenders who've been here. Our turnaround is very, very low. We keep him low over here. And know a lot about making drinks. We train them to make the drinks according to the individual. So whenever you're in town, wherever you are, come to Jackson's Theater, Jackson's Cozy Lounge, 108 East Commerce, over in Gladewater, Texas. We'll make sure to take care of you. As we're speaking to Leo Helm, alias IEG Infinity D, or shall I say G to the Infinity D, Jazz Man himself. Before I play this, can you let the listeners know what they're about ready to hear? And then we'll talk about, because you and I just finished this story on the cover.
On the cover.
Yeah,
okay.
This is great.
So Enchanter is kind of a more laid-back album compared to what I normally do, but also do some singing, which you won't hear me do very often. And Yeah, Enchanter's Tale. I'm going to do a very interesting version of that when I come here and play. I actually sampled Maharishi Yogi behind it for when I play here, and but this version is instrumental, and I just wanted to get into a lighter, more ethereal sound for this album. So.
Have you ever gotten a chance to where you actually had maybe somebody actually come in and say, "Wow, dude, I really love that stuff, and you should get a label"?
We, we meaning my friend Thomas and I have this label, Texistential Waveform, and so we decided that together we would put out albums under that moniker, just to give it some air of legitimacy or whatever. And plus, I like Texistential Waveform.
Well, okay, so there was on 88.1. I don't know if you're familiar with it in Denton. Every Saturday they would play ambient music, electronic music, and there was this guy that he would host the show, and he would always talk like this. And on our next trip about sensual things, we would have the same. You know what I'm talking about, but it was waveform. It was something waveform. I'm very surprised that you have not been on that show because he's out of California, but they syndicated, so they play his show. They were used to play his show all the time. Fantastic. Some of this, as a matter of fact, some of the stuff that was played, I literally at the time Shazammed it and used a lot of it. But this is Enchanter's Tale. Tell them a little bit about your cover, if you want to.
Yeah, so the cover, I was taking a peaceful walk in the pasture, and I just happened upon what you're seeing there, which is, that's all I can say about it. I said, "Wait right there, sir," and I went and got my camera, and I just took a picture.
Bro.
And that is a root of a tree.
It looks like a bull, but yeah, when we've done it twice, the first thing I thought of, now that you've explained this to me, I literally thought this was a moon picture. Astronaut, And no, ladies and gentlemen, I was not high. When I did this, but I literally believe that this, now on the back picture, is that a picture of your farm?
That is a tree that was struck by lightning, and that was the remnant of it, and it just ended up looking like this obelisk in the front pasture, and you would just go visit it, maybe put an offering down or something like that. But that's the cool thing about this album. It's completely unadulterated as far as the cover and the back cover. Like there's no editing. What you see is what actually existed.
What kind of other swag you got there before we play this right here?
Let's see, a bunch of albums, but do you want like the super special thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give you the super special.
Well, not yet. Not yet.
Not
Don't
yet.
give me the super.
Sorry.
No, we'll do that. We'll do that when we get bored.
All right. Scratch that.
Yeah, scratch that. So what we're going to do is we're playing the Enchanter's Tale, and the cool thing is now that we have the guy who actually did all this, he's going to explain to us. I love it. It's a favorite album of mine. He's given me those, and I was like, this is the one I listen to when I'm disturbed and depressed, and this is the thing I need to go to. And this one is called Enchanter's Tale. And feel free to chime in when you want to. Yeah, see, this is to me, it's like, okay, the first thing I feel, it's John Cage and it's Schellenberg literally at the same time that I'm listening to this.
I used this drum kit that was based upon like artifacts, tools, those kind of things, going for kind of a Tom Waits sort of approach to it, and then that the bass that you're hearing through there is a chord prophecy, which is a fantastic solo instrument.
What gear are you using on this right now?
Oh gosh, this is like 2010 through 2012.
Mm-hmm. So are you using just a MIDI right now?
This is probably all built within the Cubase, within a DAW, and some of it is samples, and some of it is live instruments.
Which are the live instruments?
That bass sound that you're hearing was played live.
Let's get a little bit more into this right here for a second, ladies and gentlemen, because I want everybody to hear it. Kind of like where the ambient is and where the disturbance and dissonance becomes. A lot of tension. That right there. Let me just stop that right there for a second. So that to me seems like John Cage influential. That right there. And with a little bit of almost like a Zavon. Like almost like Am I wrong or am I right on that?
No, I think that's pretty good. The other thing that I think brings it a little magic is that there's live. Hey, we're going to do this in 1 or 2 takes. Like I just
now, when you say we, is it
we meaning myself?
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. Just want to make sure. I thought there was other people there. So
no. It's just me and the robots.
Okay, the robots. Good. Let's try it again. Are these just patches?
The only thing that I think is being looped or sampled is the drumming, and the rest of it is live keyboard. When I play live, I'll have usually 2 instruments, and I'll go between the 2 of them, like layering the 2 sounds.
It's still in uniform, though. Let me go back right here. So it's still in uniform. So whether you're using some type of melodic dissonance or are you using some type of like actual comping? Are you comping what the drums are giving you?
I think I'll play based on what I played previously. So I'll lay something down and then I'll comp that and then I'll go back.
So basically what you're doing is you're literally starting from one track, which would probably be what, your bass or your drums, right?
Probably the drums.
Okay. So then from there, it sounds like that right there. Very true. There, right there. That bottom, but that where it bottoms out.
That's the chord prophecy. And that's being played live. Or as live as it gets in this environment. And the other is the kind of chimey bell sounds. Right. That's the Roland V-synth.
Okay, the Roland V-synth, which is virtual, right? It's not a...
No, it's a big honking.
Every time I get a V-synth, it's on. Don't worry, I'll cut that. That part. Okay. How many different types of sounds of keyboards are you using on this bit?
Holy smoke!
Because you got to be using you're using a synth, but you're also using a techno feel, and you're using a hardcore. There's got to be some type of hardcore feel and ambient feel there.
Couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and look.
So
it's a lot of this stuff is on the fly. Like I just build because at this point you have non-destructive editing, so you can always go back and fix something that didn't go so well the first time around.
That.
That's the piece.
That part.
It's got an XYZ axis tool. Like, what did they call that? The K oscillator?
Right.
Remember that?
Way back in the day.
Yeah. So you just spin that around.
And you're not using any D-beam at all on that?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah, very likely using that.
And that's you singing there. On the silver.
No.
You're not using any type of Voltronic on that?
That's the chord prophecy in there. That was a very expressive synth. I miss it.
I think the one thing that I get, you get really, you immerse yourself in that. And it's like almost like feeling like whatever gear that you're using, it doesn't sound synthetic. Does that make sense? It's hard to find like that part. That's
probably a DB.
Sounds like a theorem. So,
all right.
So yeah, no, I think so. I mean, it's basically stream of consciousness, the whole thing, isn't it?
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Some of that stuff, I can't tell where I started that process. Like it could have been that bass. Like I was just working with that bass and thinking, what could I do with this? And then I'll pull some drums in. Like how the creation goes, I think it's good to start at different places. Like don't start with just the drums every time. Mm-hmm. Go to, your rhythm section, start with that. Mm-hmm. And
do you ever get to that moment where you get that writer's block and you go like, holy shit, where's this going to go? Or is it just like an open vessel?
No, writer's block. So when you say that, you know what you're saying, and I know what you're saying.
Right.
But I don't know that everybody knows what that means. Writer's block to me is you walk in your studio and you're like, what are you doing?
Right.
What is all this crap? Man, I've got nothing, and this is just embarrassing me. And you close the door,
right?
And it's like it's almost like a depression,
right? Exactly. Yes.
And then when you're feeling good, then the creativity is flowing again. But I ended up. You can even see it in the albums. There's a point where I just kind of dropped.
I saw that. I saw that in your Good album.
Yeah.
That was in your Good album because I remember that was the one you sent me. Starlight was one of the ones. I was like, wow, geez. I mean, because there's not a lot that you could actually go and say, this is as far as I can go.
So Starlight, interestingly, that was where I picked up after, as we say, writer's block had happened. My brother died, and after that, I kind of just was empty.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm watching TV, and the president is on, and he's talking about Space Force. And I'm like, Space Force? Really? Space Force? We're going to have a Space Force? And I'm like hopping up and down in my living room. And I'm like, I've got your Space Force. And that's when I came up with the song with the, what do you call it? The astronaut in it, Space Junk. Right, I said, man, you're gonna start a war in outer space, and then we're gonna be trapped on the Earth because the atmosphere is gonna be full of metal and stuff.
That's okay. When you first gave me that, I was like thinking, I can't read that, man. But then when you gave me the T-shirt, I still wear this T-shirt.
Great.
Yeah, the good T-shirt, man. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is the way to go, man. I mean, you can't read it, but you can, and it's just really weird. It's the blur of what music is, as far as Leo Helms' universe. It's a blur, bro. So,
well, this was the first picture of a black hole that was ever taken, and I took that and I'm looking at it and I'm like, so I took it and doubled it,
right,
and then made a G and a D inside
really?
of it, and then that's our black hole, the first
cool.
picture ever taken.
Pretty
and so
badass.
Space Junk was the first on that, and everything kind of has that outer space kind of feel here, dimensional transponder and destroy bot. It has that whole theme of destruction in space. But anyway, this pulled me out and back into producing and writing again, and feeling like, dang, I've got it again.
And again, it's like, I look at you and I've seen you, bro, and you're like, dang, there's so much meat on this bone. It's like, we're going to listen to a little bit of Starlight, man. This is Starlight by Good. So while we're listening, what's the story behind this one?
So this song was birthed through just a jam session, and my friend
live music or no live music?
Live. We were totally live. Except,
wow. Okay.
Like I'm with Thomas Aerosol, who's my good friend, and to this day, and we've developed music along these lines, and we had his keyboard plugged into my keyboard to where I have to play in order for his notes to come out, and we were just playing off of each other, and so we had this underlying track.
What gear were you using at the time?
He had oh my gosh, he had some kind of a Kai, and I was using probably
the old
Akais. Yeah, he had an Akai, and so we just were running it, looping in through each other, where it was like this kind of ultimate feedback. And when we stopped to listen to it, it's like, okay, we've created some new kind of music, and we let it rest for a while, and then we put the beats into it, the drumming. We actually went and backfilled that, and along with the bass and this more intense part, I would say Thomas wrote most of that.
Let's hear a little bit of that right here. So where does it go from there? I mean, it's almost like it just needed to be somewhere, because I feel like the CD has a journey that it takes after Starlight, and then it goes into the next song, which is what's the next song after that? Because it feels like it goes into Dimensional Transponder.
No, that was Dimensional Transponder, and then next one is called Fake World.
But were you planning on making that happen almost like into one song?
I don't know what that was going to turn into. We do a lot of just spontaneous jamming that produces what we call fodder, and then we go back and we analyze our own fodder and bring it forward and chop it up.
So you do actually go and edit it after all this is done?
Oh yeah, big time.
But do you do it all in one take and then just make tracks out of each of them, or?
I remember what we did with this is we recorded what we did, and it was in the middle of a lightning storm, and we pressed stop, and we actually started going off into some other direction, and lightning struck and shut our 2488 Tascam down for the moment, and we were like, man, we were geniuses right then.
You got to let people understand what a Tascam is if they don't understand what a Tascam is.
A Tascam is how home recording weirdos got into the home recording market. So we've been on Tascam a long time, everything from cassettes to mini discs. Remember mini discs? I had a mini disc one, and then
you had to have the 4-track. There was the old 4-track. That's how rappers made their livings, doing the old 4-track.
So when we got a hold of this 24-track, we thought we were deities.
The Holy Grail. Yeah, the Holy Grail.
And it's just been getting better and better for home recording artists to do whatever you want to do, and you have so much power.
When you do a live thing, or what are you using for live?
I bring my DAW, and I bring a few accompanying instruments. So I'll have the computer kind of drive most of the show. Like there's no way I can play all this stuff all at the same time, right. So I bring the DAW, and then I have two complementary keyboards, and usually
are you is it a Korg or is it a Roland, or what do you?
I'll have a Roland V synth, and I'll have the Arturia system, and then I'll have my
but the Arturia system is actually just more like a table system that you would use.
The Arturia is a keyboard attached to the computer. So you can call up any of the sounds inside of your DAW. Right.
You just punch it, and there it goes. Yep. You just punch it, and there it goes.
In fact, it just feeds your keyboard. Here's the sound you're going to be using for this particular
You feel
song.
like you're cheating, or is it just kind of like
much debate on that because, well, I've got a lot of friends who are true musicians. Not that I'm not a musician, although it gets debated where electronic music is in this world, So I have people who are serious guitar players, serious bass players, and they're like, what are you playing? And so my response to them has always been, look, go up to a conductor of, a symphony orchestra, and if you tell them they're not a musician, they're going to take that little stick and they're going to ram it up your nose, and they're going to hit you right in the pineal gland.
And where's the pineal gland?
It's right at the top of where that stick would be in your nose. But they are musicians, so the conductor, no, they're not really playing anything, and they're waving, the baton. They're keeping the time.
Right.
But there was a guy, there was a Russian guy bringing his orchestra over from Russia, and they on the trip over they lost all the tablature.
Right.
Yeah, they totally screwed up, and he sat down and rewrote every part of the entire symphony and handed it to all the musicians. Now that is a musician. Okay, and that's kind of what you do in electronic music. It's like, no, I'm not, I'm not Yngwie Malmsteen, but I'm going to do the best I can with.
I got this.
Production, orchestration.
I love, number one, that Leo loves name drop, man, which means the dude is very well endowed as far as education on electronic. Test.
There you go.
Yes, we are at Jackson's Theater, Jackson's Cozy Lounge, i.e., blah, blah, blah. Back in the house for our last 1 hour, rounding up Leo Helm. Cozy. We have bourbon. We have music. Tons of music info that we have, I think we've covered. Tons of music we've covered. Buffalo Trace, E.H. Taylor, Weller, Eagle Double Rare. What else have we got? Well, we've got a little Bell Weenie coming up for us and a little bit of a Coke. Yes, I've downgraded, ladies and gentlemen. I have downgraded. Only because of the fact that I only downgrade when the information is good. And I've got to keep myself up because we've got a great bartender, Miss Lana Neiman. Thank you so much. And a little Bell Weenie Caribbean cast for Leo Helm, who's been a true warrior, true guest. Been doing a great job, man.
Thank you.
I hope your wife listens to this. Think Sharon will listen to this?
Yeah, I think so. She'll be into it.
Think she likes it?
She'll be cracking up.
Hey,
she'll be making fun of me. Yeah.
If I gave you the opportunity to have a choice, but you only have one choice, I'm going to give it to you like this: McDonald's or Burger King?
Neither's not an option.
You don't have an option. It's McDonald's or Burger King.
Burger King.
Why?
I don't have a good reason because I haven't tasted any of that in probably decades. But Burger King, I don't know.
You suck on that one. Papa John's or Domino's?
Neither. Yeah, I just don't eat that kind of stuff. But okay,
play the game.
Domino's.
No, why? They can't find your house to deliver, though.
I don't have a good reason. Pizza Hut, honestly.
Okay, what I was getting there: Domino's or Pizza Hut?
There you go, Pizza Hut.
What do you choose to eat there? The buffet?
No, I get that chicken supreme. A chicken supreme. A chicken supreme.
A chicken. Chicken Express or KFC?
KFC, definitely.
Extra crispy or original?
Original.
Sweet, of course. Conservative, but always a good standby. Let's do Long John Silver's or Captain D's?
Long John Silver's, just because of the Longview battle to maintain one.
Which I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither.
But, hey, you change your logo, it brings people out the driveway. Really interesting. Starbucks or 75 Brew?
Starbucks, because I cannot deal with high levels of caffeine. Like, I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that's it.
What do you normally drink?
That's it.
Is it you're going to Starbucks. I mean, are you doing cafe latte, cafe americano?
Frappuccino, girly drinks.
Frappuccino?
Yep.
I need to test your blood out, bro. God bless the old Frappuccino.
Yep.
That's weird. Shall we go into catfish or shrimp?
Shrimp.
Good for you. Scallops or shrimp?
Scallops.
Man, you called that one out. Steak or scallops?
Ooh, scallops.
Ribs or scallops?
Scallops beat
you suck.
Many things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm making this a little too hard for me. You're taking your victory lap on scallops. Let's figure out, what about Dickies or Sonny Bryan's? If you've never had Sonny Bryan's,
I guess
let's
I've
do
never had
Dickies
that.
and Bodacious, since we're in East Texas.
Bodacious.
Brisket or shore pork butt?
Wow. I think brisket.
That's interesting. You know, there's more bad brisket than there is bad pork butt. You do know that.
Yeah.
I'd rather have almost a half-assed pork sandwich than I'd have a really good brisket.
It's funny you're bringing that up because I've started watching Pitmasters a little bit and doing some of the characters.
Which one?
And,
are you doing?
Well, my
Mixon?
favorite is
Mixon.
I'm always telling Sharon about my money meat. Oh, you got that up in there, money meat? Heck yeah!
Hey, tell them about the story you said about the guy who tried to get his. That's the only way you said it, about his pecker being fixed.
Oh,
that was funny. Just the way you did get it.
Doc.
Yeah, that's the one.
Having a little problem with my pecker.
What's that, sir? I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, you know, Doc, my pecker. For those of you having problems with your pecker, I'm sorry. But there's hope.
Yes, there is hope, ladies and gentlemen, if you just go to Tyler. But he only has a year left before he retires, and he comes and works here, and he fixes everybody's pecker. Or his Parker. His Parker.
Parker.
Hey, what type of swag you got over there, Chief?
Oh, you want the rare piece?
I would love to wear. Now, in case
swag.
anybody who doesn't know, you have to understand that he came in today with a Don Perignon box, and I said, "Really, we're celebrating tonight out of all nights?" And you're like going, "It's a swag box, Jackson."
Yeah, we drank that.
And I said, "I have the real one if you want it." What do you got? What do you got in there, though, bub?
So this is way back in
my God,
2005.
Look at that.
Or so. I created T-shirts for my band, and on the back is my donkey Milton. He's telling you to listen. Listen,
awesome.
jackass.
I love that.
So one of the shows I did, and this is yours.
Really?
This is one of there are 3 that remain now, 2, but this is a rare piece of swag. Like everybody has theirs. They've all been handed out. I'm not going to print them again. And this is the original tie-dye Donkey Milton shirt, and it's an XL. And I know you're not an XL.
What are you trying to say?
I know you're not an XL.
So why is your donkey named Milton?
Milton Burrow.
Milton Burrow.
Milton Burrow.
Milton Burrow or Burrow?
Burrow.
I love this shirt. Okay, because he burrows around.
No, he is a burrow. You want to hear some other donkey names?
Yes, I do.
We have another one called Hody.
Uh-huh.
Donkey Hody. Wonderful. We got a donkey recently that was pregnant, and we called her, because that was funny. Her name is Genesis, A-S-S, Jen Ass.
Man, I'm telling you, he's here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
We also have Ives.
Uh-huh.
Burrow Ives.
It's beautiful. You have a wonderful array of animals, sir.
Yeah, we're down to 2 donkeys, but Milton was one of my favorites. Like he was a registered spotted ass, and
registered spotted ass.
Yep.
I don't know what that means.
Well, he was.
I mean,
spotted.
does that means that his ass was spotted, or that
No.
he was spotted by the ICE to say you're an immigrant, you need to leave?
No. His ass was clean, but he was spotted.
What is it with you and the goat animals?
Oh man, goats are second to donkeys.
Uh-huh.
Only second to donkeys.
What's the difference between a goat and a donkey?
Boy,
I really don't know.
Where do you want to begin?
No. Well, goats eat everything. I hear goats eat like socks, and goats eat, and then donkeys are like, they were there with Jesus.
So donkeys are equines, and goats are cloven hooved animals, closer to like a cow or something. So goats have 5 stomachs. And
Goats have 5 stomachs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did not
they're
know
ruminators. They think about everything.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I messed that up.
Oops.
There
you go.
Sorry.
They really overthink things.
Yeah, I do. Hold on. I just overthought. So when a goat has 5 stomachs, does that mean they can eat as much as they want and never get full?
No, they they sure act like that. They're very good at like cleaning property. So
they're able to do the dry cleaning and the wash in the kitchen and clean the bathrooms. Hey, we're there, man. No, but seriously, I always wondered when somebody has a farm, the first thing they ask for, they don't ask for donkeys, they ask for goats. Clean up everything. They scare everybody. And they multiply like no one's business. Is that the truth?
They can reproduce 1 or 2 a year, and each. And what they do that's great is that they will eat down whatever. So you have a place that's overgrown. You put your goats in there, and they'll eat it down to.
It's your
a golf
natural
course.
lawnmower. Now, just to ask us. So, but you do get an agricultural exempt from it, right?
No, because we only have animals for fun. Like we're not really producing, so we don't get the ag break. And even though we do, like Sharon does rescue work, and I was like, well, don't we get an ag break? No, like rescuing horses from starvation is not enough to get an ag break. You have to be selling something. You have to be producing and selling.
Right.
For a while, we had sheep, and we would produce sheep and sell sheep, and that counted.
How many sheep did you have?
Man, at one time, maybe 15 or so. There was
Did you
bunch.
find that it was sheepless? You know, as we're drinking this Caribbean Chaos and this Crown Apple with Diet Coke Zero, I always wondered, like, what is a guy like you who has so many pelts on the wall, whether it's music, whether it's, you know, doctorate stuff, donkeys, goats. Gladewater, man. Freaking Gladewater. Well, in the interim, like the middle of. You could be in so many other places. A guy like you, I find so much more cosmopolitan. I mean, what brings you here?
You can't get goats into Manhattan. You know, you can't. Like the city is just not for us. I can tell you that for sure. So we've had a good time being out here.
So the goats came with the helms. It's not like it was vice versa.
No, the goats came later. Like the first animal ventures we undertook were horses for horse rescue. Like that was Sharon's passion, and so we and then we got a donkey who was also a rescue from the Bureau of Land Management out in the Arizona desert. They're like considered a pest, you know, because they're eating all the hay that the cows should be eating. So anyway, they cart them over here to Texas where we like them, and that's how we got into donkeys. But they make great friends, and I just go out there and stand with them.
Now, the other thing you brought up was that Sharon's dad was a painter. And how many paintings does Sharon have?
Gosh, I don't know. His stuff is everywhere. It's in a lot of art galleries. He sold a lot of it.
Because you know what we were thinking about doing was actually, and I told you about this, is that, and we need to talk about, you know, Sharon about this, is in Gladewater, we own that big B&B. It's the second floor, the Claire's building. And we want to go ahead and do some sense of an art gallery. So, but also within the art gallery, do like a cigar thing. Yes, I know. It'll be in a separate room. But perhaps maybe do some type of a kind of a pop-up for the art. And it seems like you had said something in the realm of 150, I think.
Oh,
150?
Gosh, I have no idea what he's got out there. We have a lot warehoused. You know, now given he's doing like wildlife art, he also did some comedy. Like he did you know, Gary Larson kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
He would do those kind of things. Just do very funny stuff with wildlife and animals.
But what do you think of that? I mean, would that be something that, you know, that would actually bring people in, you know, by the name? Or?
Oh, I think so. I think you could. It depends how. I think Gladewater's taking on an eclectic kind of feel. So I feel like, you know, wildlife art is sort of you know, mainstream.
But if we can do it in the way I told you we can do it, is to have the little, you know, the Matchbox girls, cigarette girls, with the little, you know, hotel thing in the 50s, and they have cigars, cigarettes, have people dress up in nice, you know, and in the hallways they have pictures, do a little track lighting of the art, and then have a vendor that pairs bourbon with the cigars in a different room, of course, because, ladies and gentlemen, as Leo said, I don't know if the art would work well with the cigars because they would damage the paint.
Right.
As they do in Manhattan in the 50s, where they used to smoke cigarettes all the freaking time in those art galleries. But, we go there.
If I'm going to bring my Dale Terbush paintings up here, they will not be exposed to
They will
smoke.
not be
Right.
exposed. Why is that?
The smoke is going to get into the fabric of the painting, and it'll.
But don't you think
forever.
Don't you think that in the 50s and in the 40s, when they were smoking all the time. I mean, if you look at a Rothko painting, he smoked all the freaking time while he was painting. You look at a Warhol, he was smoking all the time. If you look at a Pollock was a smoker, big time smoker. So how does that damage the paint?
I don't know. It's just a personal preference. But, yeah. We'll see how it goes. We can.
But we're thinking about doing that.
Art show for sure.
Yeah. We're doing that in the fall. So one of the other things that I want to cover that we had covered, because we've covered so much. Actually, I used to always say, it's like, if I can't talk to somebody, I usually end it. I got exit strategy.
You hit the music.
Yeah, I hit the music, or I go and I do a quick laugh and I exit. But it's been very engaging. This has been very engaging, and I love it because you've been very interesting. And I knew that there's so much meat on this bone that we have to kind of like unlock because, your life is so different. I almost feel like you've escaped wherever you were to be here so that you can recreate yourself again. And sometimes I think we all have to do that. Sometimes we have to go ahead and we have to escape from where we are to go somewhere else so that we can recreate oneself again. And not to get personal, and because I don't want to. And you can get as where you want to be here with me. Where did you have to be in your life so that you can just say, I'm done, I need to be somewhere else so I can start again?
Oh, there's no question. Houston.
Wait.
Nuclear weapon.
You don't live in Houston. You end up in Houston.
Yeah.
So what was in Houston?
Well, most of my life was there. But the city, the metropolitan, that gigantic city kind of feel is not for me. Like I need air, I need space, I need critters.
But it's really interesting because you like, to me, Mr. Robert Graham, because you dress up nice, bro. You dress up real nice.
I'm coming to Jackson's.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, it's like I feel like you're like the guy that if I was to go someplace, I said, Leo, we're taking a trip. You and me, we're going to Vegas, or we're going to Manhattan. We're going to spend a week there. You would be one of those guys of a list of people in my hand with fingers left over. I'd said, let's move there. You and me, roommates, bro, for a year. You do you, I do me. I just can't see you in this small town, bro. I don't know. You tell me.
No, I think it's been fantastic here. I don't think we're gonna die here. My wife and I are gonna die in Gladewater if we have any say in the matter. We might die right here in this bar.
You're right. Drinking a Caribbean.
Especially
fag.
if I have 2 or 3 more Belfanis, it might happen.
So saying that, which pivots me, saying 5 years from now, what are you doing?
I'm right here.
Tough question.
I'm here all the time.
5 years.
Helping produce what you're producing. Like
Okay.
I would say this is like one of the outlets I've been looking for. Where can we put art? Where can we meet like-minded people? Where can we get with other people who are productive, dreaming, thinking, putting their art together. This is what we've been looking for in a way.
May 16th, May 17th, ladies and gentlemen, one thing we have to bring up is our first annual jazz festival, in which Leo and Leo is partnering in with me. Because it's our first, we're able to go ahead and fuck up as much as we want to. But it's really
awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And we can't be perfect with it, but we've got so many really good bands coming in. We're real nervous about it, but I'm really excited about it at the same time, to bring a new voice, a new movement into a place. Into a place like East Texas, which someone would say we're floating upstream sometimes. And I can't tell you, the first time I met Leo, I don't know if I liked him or not, but I said I thought that the first time I met you would be the last time I met you. And I feel like, because you were sitting where you were sitting in a corner. You had a great shirt. You had a Rubber Graham shirt. You sat in a corner. And I was like, dang, man. I mean, I think he's disconnected a little bit, a little too bougie for me, but whatever. It's my place. And the minute you came back, I was like, okay, this might hold a little bit of water. And when you came up and you said, our first jazz little bit that we had in the front. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, who've not been here. We have a front lounge and we have a back lounge. And the back lounge we just created. But before that, we had a front lounge and a theater. And what was it that you said? I can tell you exactly.
Go ahead.
I said, Leo had said, what do you have, as in William Shatner moment? What do you have in between? Now I sound like Clint Eastwood, right? In between the front part and that big theater. Now, if you had something like that, that'd be perfect. And I think in 3 days we built something. I think in 3 days we built a middle lounge, which we called the Cobra Lounge. And we put a band in the corner of this lounge. Leo comes in a T-shirt. I'll never forget this. He comes in a T-shirt, and he said, pause, 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 pause. He looks up at me and goes, this is great. This is great. This is exactly what I thought. And if it was not for you, buddy, this part here would not have existed. And I thank you for that, because now it has become an iconic feel behind the curtain and the pictures and the make your first your last. So, yeah, I thank you. Well,
it's evolving.
It's all on
Thank you,
man. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladewater. Good night.
We're not there yet, buddy.
Oh yeah. That wasn't your tap dance out.
No, I think that we're doing something. We're making a movement, and it starts by 2, then by 4, then by 8, then by 16. You notice we have never gotten to a fight over here. Not us, but as far as everybody else here.
Let's get some goats here.
Let's get some goats. I like goats.
Because there's going to be a fight.
So May 6th. Okay. Well, I think that's where we start to wind things down. So Adam Larson will be here on the 16th and 17th. Well, he'll be here on the 17th. We have George Favor. George Favor will be here. We have, of course, the Daniel Scott Quartet. We have the Luke Biote Trio coming in. The Adam Forsyth Movement. We have others. We have Melon Jelly. Melon Jelly is going to be at the Jazz Festival. So the Jazz Festival is going to be iconic. You'll be in about a few days. We'll talk about our patron sponsorships. We'll be upstairs. We're going to have about 3 or 4 stages. Our first stage will be in the big theater. Then we have our second stage right here at the Jackson's Cozy Cobra Lounge. The third one will be upstairs, and then the fourth one will be outside. So all in the name of jazz is what we do it for. The movement of jazz in East Texas is, and on top of that, it will be going towards a great charity, which will be
Roxy
Room Project.
Yeah.
Roxy Room Project, which is always important. So portions of the proceeds will go to the Roxy Room Project, where we build sensory rooms for underdeveloped schools, for children on the spectrum. And I think that it is going to be an exciting time for the theater. And Leo says, you better make it an exciting time because we're putting money into this damn thing.
I'll have to say that this is one of the most sincere jazz festivals. Like sometimes you see jazz festival and it's blues,
yes,
and reggae.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, but this we're not kidding.
Absolutely,
this time.
No, I don't think we're kidding. And here's the other thing that I think about the jazz festival. The jazz festival is being brought to you by people who love jazz, and whether it's bebop, whether it's, as you said, fusion, contemporary, traditional. There's all types, even Zydeco. I even, told one cat, man, bring your Zydeco business. We're good with that. But we want the city to be proud of what we do. We also want the city to be proud of who we are, and that's the Jackson's Cozy Lounge. We kind of leave you with a little bit of Leo doing a little sample of the old Bill Withers. We thank Leo Helm for being here. Thank you, Leo. You're a pretty amazing guy.
Thank you, sir.
I can't wait for you to do my blood work. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks where you could sit me down and say, brother, sit right down and talk to me. But other than that, we'll be back next week. Got tons of people, tons of guests. Jackson's Cozy Lounge. We're here Thursday, 5 to 12. Friday and Saturday, 5 to 2 a.m. Get some brunch with us on Sunday from 11 to 4. We're starting to open on Wednesday from 5 to 12. Thanks, Leo, for being here.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I think we need to do this again sometime.
Be your sidekick.
Sidekick with headphones. I like that.